Story 1. The year was 2018. Although I can't remember the exact date this happened, I do remember it was around a month after the Parkland shootings. I'm 17, and still remember this day like it was yesterday. I was in the 7th grade at the time, and was transitioning to my next class, which was language arts. I sat down in my seat, being one of the first people in class since I didn't stop by to talk to any of my friends. As soon as the rest of the students came into class, the bell rung and class began. My teacher finished off the lesson that we had learned the day before. I remember always having this one bad kid in my class who acted like a fool all the time and wanted to be a class clown. He, of course, sat right next to me in class, surprisingly leaving me alone as he always found some kind of way to annoy me at 10 in the morning. Around 30 minutes into the period, the intercom turned on. I paid it no mind since they usually asked for people to come down to the office, but something about this announcement felt unpleasantly strange. My principal sounded very terrified, like she had seen a ghost. She announced a lockdown in the most horrific manner, frantically clicking buttons on the phone, specifically 3 buttons. I knew something wasn't right, as whenever lockdown drills are announced, they aren't as frantic as my principal was now. She quickly hung up the phone, leaving everyone confused as of why she was so terrified. My teacher told us to go to the corner while she made sure the classroom door was locked and put down the blinds on the door. The class clown, of course, found a way to be annoying, making loud noises and jokes. Usually during lockdowns, I would just ignore him, but this lockdown felt off. I would begin to try my hardest and make him be quiet, but he just wouldn't shut up. I tried to calm my overthinking, telling myself that everything was fine and that I'm just being dramatic. Then my heart dropped. I saw around 7 cop cars pull into the front of the building where the main entrance was with their guns drawn. My hands began to shake and I felt like I wasn't awake. I felt like time started to slow down. Everything started to slow down. My best friend of 7 years at the time was at lunch during the lockdown. I started getting very paranoid, wondering if she was okay and safe. I felt like I was losing my mind and trapped in some kind of lucid dream, except it was real. I started derealizing, wondering if this was actually happening. Nothing felt real. The kid who continued to annoy the class made me more and more angry, because he wouldn't just stay quiet for the sake of our lives. He was doing nothing but putting our lives in danger, and it was really frustrating. The girl next to me whispered in my ear, "It's okay. If anything happens to us, my mom told me to carry this knife with me for my safety." Remembering this 5 years later really hurts. The fact that a 12-year-old has to say that is really heartbreaking. I opened Snapchat, which was popular at the time, and looked at everyone's stories to get a confirmation on what was happening. My eyes widened at the text that popped up on my screen. "There's a school shooter in the building." At this point, I start to text my family about what was happening, telling them that I wanted to go home and that I was scared. My mom immediately blew my phone up with messages telling me to keep texting her so that she knew I was okay. My older sister was in the high school, which was right across the street from our school, so she was also in lockdown texting my mom. About an hour later, the lockdown was finally lifted. It was my lunch period, but since the lockdown took up half of the period, we only had 15 minutes to eat. Me and my friends decided to go to the bathroom to see if we can find out what happened. Since the teachers only let 2 girls at a time in, I stayed outside the bathroom, waiting for my turn. But then something caught my eye. I saw a police officer walking down the hallway with a book bag in his hand, and a student walking by his side. The student didn't look so happy to be with the officer. He didn't look at any of the students in the hallway. He just stared at the floor. After me and my friends went to the bathroom, we walked back into the lunchroom, where I told them what I had saw in the hallway. It was until school ended, and I had met up with my best friend in the bus, where she told me what happened during her lunch period. There was this kid who was sitting at his table with his friends. I'm guessing his friends made some kind of joke that offended him. He told his friends that he had a gun in his book bag, and that he will use it. Thank God for his friend, as he had told a teacher about what his friend had told him, leading us into a lockdown. I was wondering who the kid was. Turns out the kid didn't have a gun in his book bag and was just trying to scare his friends. I had later found out what he had looked like. It was the kid walking down the hallway with the officer. Story number 2. In 8th grade, as the day was drawing to a close, our homeroom teacher had already left. Left to our own devices, we returned to our lockers. While we were finishing packing up, a code red announcement blared through the speakers, causing my heart to drop. Hastily, everyone in my homeroom dashed into the classroom, now devoid of a teacher, and we attempted to lock the door. Our homeroom was small, with only 10 kids. 2 of my friends struggled to secure the door, while I rearranged desks to provide cover for us to hide behind. Suddenly, I found myself alone in the classroom. My friends couldn't get the door locked, so they fled to another classroom, taking advantage of the few teachers still outside gathering students. Petrified, I approached the door, only to find the hallway empty and silent. Attempting to lock the door myself, I discovered it was stuck. Realizing I had to make a decision, I weighed my options: find another class or remain alone. Opting to leave, I sprinted to another classroom, knowing the lock was broken, and I had already arranged the desks in a way that would indicate someone was inside if the intruder entered. Reaching the neighboring class, I knocked frantically several times, trying to be quiet, yet audible. After receiving no response, I dashed back to the original class and texted my friends, asking them to inform a teacher of my whereabouts. Only one person responded, located 3 doors down. Their class was closer to the middle side front of the hall, while mine was at the back end. I knew I had to run. Texting my plan to knock 3 times, pause, and then knock 3 times again, I cautiously peeked into the hall, seeing nobody, and made a dash for the class. As I knocked, I heard footsteps approaching from the direction of the gym, causing panic to surge within me. Finally admitted into the classroom, I relayed what I had heard. The teacher promptly ushered us into the storage closet, armed with a pan from the cooking class. The sound of running past our door, heading down the hall, and out the back exit. Soon, more footsteps followed, as if in pursuit. We sat in the closet, hearts pounding, for what felt like an eternity, as helicopters circled overhead and police sirens blared outside. At around 5 o'clock, the lockdown was lifted, and we learned the details. A man had shot his wife and sought refuge in the woods near the school. The police pursued him, and he attempted to hide in our school. Fortunately, no one in the school was harmed, but the experience... Story 3, The Lockdown. I was 15 when this happened. I was in high school, sitting in class when my teacher remarked, "Wow, Dan, I love your hair." I used to have black hair, but now it's dyed blonde. "Thanks, Mr. Smith," I replied. Mid-class, I asked the teacher if I could use the restroom. He said yes, and as I headed there, I bumped into my friend Tiffany. We exchanged greetings and walked together towards the restroom. Suddenly, an announcement crackled over the intercom. It was the principal, his voice trembling as he declared the school was on lockdown. Initially, Tiffany and I thought it was a prank, but when the lights flickered off, fear gripped us. We sought refuge in the stalls, huddled together. Then we heard someone enter the bathroom, humming eerily, reminiscent of the movie Truth or Dare. The humming ceased abruptly, replaced by a chilling invitation. "I know you're in here, come out." Before I could react, the man forced open my stall. I had forgotten to lock it, and pinned me down, slashing my arm, stomach, and leg. I screamed in agony, but Tiffany acted swiftly, brandishing her pepper spray and shouting, "Choke on this, bitch!" She sprayed him, and he writhed in pain, collapsing to the floor. Injured, I leaned on Tiffany for support as we fled outside, where we encountered the police. They apprehended the man, and I was rushed into an ambulance, with Tiffany and my teacher accompanying me. At the hospital, my parents enveloped me in tight embraces. After days of recovery, I overheard discussions about my best friend Adam. Tragically, the man had broken into his classroom and shot everyone inside. Tears welled up as I attended Adam's funeral, seeking solace in the embrace of my girlfriend. From that day forward, thankfully, nothing untoward happened at my school. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let's get to 100 subscribers.